Hi, and great to have you aboard for another episode of our visual art photography series. I'm Ray Scott. You know, at this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere, many photographers put their cameras away. They put them into hibernation. Please stop. Don't do it. There's so much great photography to be had outdoors. Now, I know it's a little cold and I know it can be a little uncomfortable, but you know something, you don't have to go out in minus 20 degrees. You can go out in temperatures closer to the freezing point and it still looks really cold. And there's so much to do out there. Now, today our project is going to be ice outdoors. We're going to look at how we can capture great images of ice, and the subject matter is endless, really. It's amazing what you can find out in the wintertime with ice. That's what we're going to do today. Stick around for it. Your always important questions and comments can be addressed down below. Ice. Let's go find some.
So there are so many different ways to capture ice, and I'm just going to show you a few to get you going, to get those juices flowing so that you can get out there and kind of have an idea of what to look for, because sometimes it's not so obvious as it is, let's say, in this shot where I was coming down this country road and I saw these branches just covered in ice, and along the fence you can see the icicles hanging down almost uniformly. It's almost like a pattern in a way, and this really caught my eye. I mean, it's snowing too, and it's kind of a nice winter scene, but it was that ice on these plants in the foreground that really caught my eye. So that's something to look for. All right, something else, something totally different. We have a railroad crossing, and look at the icicles just hanging off of the lights. Very dramatic. And the red, it's almost like a monochrome image, right? It's very monochromatic, but look at the red lights. It's a nice contrast, but it's the icicles that really caught my attention. Or maybe you want to get up really close and do a little bit of macro work, as I did here on this branch. It had rained and had frozen on this branch on this tree. And the fact that the buds were captured and locked into the ice really got my attention. And of course, another completely different treatment that you can do with trees is to back off and just take the whole tree with all of the branches covered in ice, and that can be quite dramatic as well. Macro, frost, another way to capture ice, frost on a window. Now, since I was able to do that, I've changed all the windows and I don't have frost anymore, but at the time I did, and you could capture frost. And here's another frost, believe it or not, completely different kind of frost, and with some different lighting as well to add some color. Or here, this is simply a shot on a deck. And I was using my macro lens, my f2.8 macro lens, so that I was using a relatively shallow depth of field, so that the only thing I was concentrating on here were the icicles. Because in back, where it's all blurry, there was a house there. So it's just really a matter of isolating and using your mind to kind of narrow things down and see the possibilities of something that normally you might look at and just forget it. There's nothing there. But the simplicity of it, and the fact that I was using the shallow depth of field to rule out everything in the background so you could just concentrate on the icicles, for me, creates a bit of an image. More ways to look at ice. You're out there walking in the forest and you look down, and it's early morning perhaps, and you can see the leaves locked into the ice. Now, a little later on, a few hours later, that ice was back to just being a puddle of water, but it had gotten cold overnight. You go out in the morning, and look what you find. The leaves locked into the ice, along with some branches as well. Or a singular leaf with early morning frost. Or something a little more dramatic, where you have these heavy icicles just hanging off of this house. And boy, does that ever look cold to my eye. How do you feel about that? Maybe something a little more wintry, a little bit more classic in a sense, where you have this creek. And often, you have to look out for this, often in creeks, you have the ice that sort of changes colors, and that can be really, really effective in creating some stunning images when you have the white of the snow and kind of juxtaposed against that color in the ice. And that, for me, is what makes that image. So look for color in ice. It's often there. Or something a little more delicate. Just a little bit of ice on this isolated plant. Or something a little more vast as you're by the side of a lake and the ice is breaking up early morning before the sun has actually risen, causing beautiful color in the water. And of course, the ice is very blue. So you get that warm and cool aspect to it, which is kind of attractive too. Icicles just hanging down with some leaves actually caught up in the ice. And look at the lighting coming in from the front and up top. And it really makes it almost a little bit eerie, but definitely the effect is there. Or just grasses covered in ice. But there are all kinds of different ways to capture ice. I've just shown you a few, as I said, to maybe sort of get the juices flowing, but there's lots more out there too.
I hope you can see it's just really a matter of getting out there, looking around, and working the scene after you find some ice. Until next time, I'm Ray Scott reminding you, it's not what you see, it's how you see it. And I'll see you soon.